Hello, hello everybody. Welcome to day 5 of Follower Appreciation Week. And I was asking you guys for suggestions and everything like that. Yes, I'm doing a love reading, just so we're all clear. That's going to be what I do on Saturday. And I'm going to do a pretty large reading for that. So just, bear with me on that. It is coming though. So I hear your requests. I know you guys want me to do a love reading, which I will do. So it's in the works. It's just that, it'll be on Saturday. And then tomorrow I've been getting a lot of requests to do like a transformation reading or like, basically healing and changing and personal evolution spread. So I'll do something like that tomorrow. I'll figure out how to incorporate all of that. But today I'm talking about boundaries. So it's going to cover two sides of this. I'm going to be talking about one where you have too heavy-handed of boundaries that need to that are actually like holding you back, because we all have boundaries around that. And then we also have boundaries that we're not good at setting. And so it's one of those things that takes practice, and I'll kind of outline both of those things. Okay, first thing coming up. Say thank you for what's on the way to you. Go meet it halfway. So this is about like showing appreciation and gratitude for what you already have going on. Okay. The boundaries that you're already able to set, all of the insight and wisdom that you've been able to get from boundaries. Like just think about how much you've learned. Okay, and then we have fun. Make it fun, make it enjoyable as best as you can. Not always easy, I'll be the first to say that, but remember that sometimes there is a blessing, like you can actually be helping someone by saying no. One of the things that I talk about with parents a lot of the time who struggle with setting boundaries with their children, what I like to remind people is that if you always say yes to your kids, if you every single time you are overwhelmed with guilt and you always say yes, what's happening is you're actually robbing them of the opportunity to learn how to hunt for themselves, how to problem solve for themselves. You're taking away their ability to learn. And so it's one of those things that's so valuable. And while we don't want to do it in the extreme where it would be neglectful, right? We don't want to do that. But, allowing your kids to have the opportunity to be challenged and have to figure out what they're going to do next. It's like that is such a gift. That is such a useful tool. So just remember that boundaries are so, so, so necessary. All right, let's see what else is coming up today. Breathe, relax. Deep breaths. It's hard. Setting boundaries is hard. I used to be a doormat. I can tell you that right now, like people pleaser up the wazoo. And now, at this point in my life, people don't ask me for dumb shit because they know I'm going to say no. You can go figure it out yourself. So it is a relief when you don't have to deal with people who are asking you for things that you have a hard time saying no to. All right, just clean up your boundaries and the people around you will learn. Okay, so central energy for your boundaries. And then we have what's going on with your upper limit. We have what's going on in the subconscious. And then what needs to be healed. And what practice needs to be adopted. I'm literally making this up as I go. So I hope you like this. Okay. So the central energy for you with boundaries is the Chariot. So this is really showing that there's a lot going on in terms of ego around your boundaries. Think about how the ego is playing a role. Because this is immediately where my eye is drawn, sitting right over the heart chakra. So it's just one of those things where you want to think about what part of your identity is wrapped up in being nice or overdoing or always saying yes and just being willing to accommodate everybody, or like how much of that is coming up for you. Some of us only have like 1%, and then some people are completely overwhelmed and drowning in their identity being so wrapped up in just saying yes all the time to everyone and everything. And so it's just one of those things that you want to call your attention to where it's connected in your body, in your mind, in your identity. Think about where the connection lives and how it's helped you survive, and then how it's actually created more challenges and more obstacles for you. So we're just curious. Like, the only thing that you need to do right now that I'm getting from this card is consider it. Consider it. Consider what's going on with your boundary style. Or do you adjust your boundaries? Do you say yes to some people and no to others? Who's it easy saying yes to? Who's it easy saying no to? I find it's super easy for me to say no to my family. Like, that is just so easy for me. But that, a lot of the time, is people's most painful area when it comes to setting boundaries. So we're all different. And if you just get curious with it, the mechanics are going to reveal themselves over time. So this is just about exploring and really making sure you're gaining support however you can, whether it be friends or somebody to hold you accountable or whatever the case is. Have support when you're in the process of exercising boundaries that you've never done before or never set before. Okay, maybe you need to talk it out with a friend first. Whatever your process is, there's no judgment. It's just getting curious with it. Okay, what needs to heal? The World. I'm going to clarify this one really quick. Whoop. Okay, let's see what's going on. What needs to be healed? Eight of Arrows. You feeling like you have no choice. Like there's no way to fix it, because if you set a boundary, then they're going to act this way, and they're going to say that, and they're going to do this, and they're going to blah, blah, blah. It's like you're filling in the blanks prematurely, and you're actually just confining yourself to a limiting belief. When what I can tell you is that, yes, part of the struggle with setting boundaries is the initial resistance. If all of a sudden, if you say yes to a toddler over and over and over and over and over, and then one day you say no, they're going to freak out. There's been a deviation in your boundary that is unexplored. Now, toddlers don't have really great coping skills, so they just kind of wail and throw a fit. You know, that's the response. So it's one of those things where remember that that's a natural response to meet some resistance. And it's also, that's the part that you want to break through so that you can actually set healthy boundaries and maintain your energy. So this is an old cycle. Old, like your boundary style is developed very, very, very young, very early on. And so whether you're on the side of needing to detach and having overly having excessive boundaries to the point where you're struggling with intimacy, right? That's really far on one side of the spectrum. And then on the other side is where you can't help but say yes to people. So it's just about reminding yourself that things can change, that you can change your boundary style, you can evolve. And the way that people react or the way that people respond is actually not, that's not really a part of the equation. Boundaries are for you and the health of your relationships. And if somebody is constantly trying to exploit said boundaries or push said boundaries, then that's actually something that is on them. That actually doesn't have anything to do with you. But it's very hard if you have trauma around this idea. If you fear rejection as a result of saying no, it takes a lot of work to break through that initial layer and realize that healthy people who love and care about you will honor your boundaries. Okay, that was kind of a long-winded answer. Okay, this is what you want to adopt in your boundaries. You have the Eight of Swords. How funny. The Eight of Swords is over here. But as you can see, the main difference between these cards, this is you feeling confined. This is an actual boundary. This is more of a depiction of a boundary that you can set to keep yourself and your energy safe. Like having, because when I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is reasonable. There's a castle in there. Okay, so this is you. This is your home, your family, your energy, this precious, special place that's all yours and yours alone. And this is a reasonable boundary, right? This is something where it's totally appropriate for there to be a fence or a gate here before you go up to the castle. And so this is kind of what you want to keep in mind for yourself, is that boundaries are reasonable. And if you can start to tweak slowly, just looking at, yeah, that's a reasonable boundary. It's reasonable to not be available sometimes. It's reasonable for me to honor my commitments that I have and the things that I want to do, and say no when somebody wants me to do a task for them. It's normal to have those types of boundaries. It's normal to tell your children no sometimes. It's not like these are all normal things. And so just remember that there's a level of practicality that is on your side. Like this is something that you can really use to your advantage. Okay, so let's see what... I believe this was the subconscious card. What's living in the subconscious? So let's do what the upper limit is, what the limiting belief is. The Nine of Wands. Hold on. I'm getting a bunch of information from this card. Let me clarify it first. You know what this is? You know what this is? I just got it. I was like... the phrase, like, you're such a bitch, like, that's kind of what the energy or the fear that's coming up. Like, the limit is delivery, fear around delivery. And so let me clarify this further, but I just got that, like, the phrase popped in. I'm like, oh yeah, like having too much force and too much energy behind the boundary. Yeah, so we have the Hanged Man as the clarifier, like nothing is ever going to change. I'm just going to like have this perception again, like you're writing the script for how you think you're going to be perceived without giving people the opportunity to either prove you wrong or maybe learn something from the experience. And I will be the first to say, and again, I'm just going to use a personal anecdote I'm hoping that this is relatable for you guys. But my experience when I first started setting boundaries with my family is they would deploy like an airbag. Way too aggressive, way too powerful. Like that's a real thing. And I know that I was in that space. I'm much better now, but it's one of those things that can be a reality if it's a weak muscle and you don't know how to use it. Or it's something where you might, even like the most gentle, maybe next time could you do it this way? In your mind, you perceive as you being hyper aggressive, even though it's like the most gentle thing on the face of the planet. So remember, perception more has to do with, you're like, there's a good deal of intention on your side that you want to keep in mind as you're setting boundaries. It's not something that is stationary or stagnant. It grows and evolves. Your ability to set boundaries will change over time. It is not a permanent state, and the way that people receive you is going to evolve and change over time if you're doing this work and you're practicing. So just remember that this, that could totally, the Nine of Wands, that tiger that's, roaring, is kind of one of those things that, sure, it could happen, but it totally depends on your healing process and where you're at and just what experience you're having. So even if you are worried about coming across as too aggressive, this is worth doing the work regardless. It's worth trying. It's worth failing and being overly aggressive and then doing it differently the next time. You're a human being, you're allowed to screw up, you're allowed to do things the wrong way, and you can't expect yourself to know how to do something that you've never done before. So don't set up unrealistic expectations for yourself around how you should already know or should already feel comfortable if it's something that you did not have modeled as a child or you haven't explored yourself as an adult. Now, what's in the subconscious? We have strength. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Okay. I'll clarify this one too, just to see what's going on in here. 5 of Coins. So again, like, you're running a little bit of that disappointment. I'm not sure. I'm not quite. But it's kind of like, look at how much, when you think about your life, think about how much you've overcome. Think about how much you have, think about how much you've been through. Think about all of the times that you thought something wasn't going to work out and it did work out. Think about all the times you challenged yourself and you've grown. Think about all of those times. Boundaries are no different. They just come with more baggage a lot of the time. It's different than like developing a skill with a new hobby, because this is emotionally based. This is something that takes practice, and you really have to work on your mindset really hard to get confident setting boundaries. And so it's kind of like the strength is there. The perception that boundaries are, the root of all evil, or it's going to get you rejected, or whatever, that's still kind of lingering. So this is about calling on your strength regardless of the resistances that you have showing up. Okay, I'm going to read this question somebody posted live. Dawn, I'm reading your question. I asked a house guest to leave, not a paying renter. They told me I had to evict them. Is that considered a boundary? So I think that really depends on documentation. If they have documentation saying they're renting a space from you, then yeah, I think you do have to evict them. But if they're squatting, like if they have no legal rights, then I would just say check your state laws for that and see what it is. But no, if somebody is not paying and they're in your house, you have every right to throw their ass out. I'm not even joking. It's your space, it's your home. There is no reason why you would be considered unreasonable in that situation. So I hope that helps. The legal stuff, I don't know what the boundaries are legally for you. But it's one of those things, if you don't have any documentation, then they're considered trespassing. So it's one of those things that you should be able to navigate if there's no paperwork. Okay. All right. Yeah. So they're squatting. What? Throw their stuff out on the front lawn. Like that's immediately where I go, is you can't stay, but I'm really protective over my home. So I'm not sure, some people are kind of okay with, I'd rather not have people like that around me. I guess we should do a 3-card pick. Shall we? I have the Wild Unknown. No, I haven't used Morgan Greer on here in a while. I'll do that. Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? If you have a question, you can ask a question. You can just take this as advice. I'm stepping away from the boundary talk, and I'm just going to do a 3-card pick. This is not necessarily boundary related unless you would like it to be. So just use this for whatever you'd like. We're just doing this for fun. Whoops, I'm so sorry. That was totally a response. So we'll just say that's for everyone. Okay, perspective matters. I'm just going to go through and read this one first. Your perception, the way you think, the way you see things, your lens matters. And so doing work on that lens, whether it be the one you would like to continue working with or adopting and trying on a new one, no matter what, there's value in all of it. But I'm all for diversification of your mindset and of the things that you are seeing. So just think about that when you're trying to consider what to do or how to approach something. It's like, how many different perspectives can you call on for that situation? Okay, so we'll just do a 2-card pick, I suppose. All right, card number 1, Page of Rods. Get curious. Like, that is your best friend. The Page of Rods has a natural ability to just kind of look and ask questions and be inquisitive and kind of inspect what's going on without jumping to conclusions, without having a jaded mindset. It's kind of like, oh, that's interesting, that's curious, where's that coming from? And the more questions you ask, the more answers you'll find, and maybe a whole other palm full of questions, but answers will come. So don't be afraid of exploring and reflecting and just looking at all different avenues that can be really helpful. And card number 2, we have the Page of Pentacles. So how are you showing up? How are you, what's a new endeavor that you're working on? What's a new project that you have going on right now? It just looks like you're showing up with a fresh face and doing things differently. So that's really exciting as well. Just keep putting energy into the things that you would like to see grow. All right, so that is all that I have for everybody today. I hope that this has been enjoyable for each and every one of you. And I will see you tomorrow for what reading am I doing tomorrow? Oh yeah, the transformation reading. That's what I'll be covering tomorrow. And then we're doing a big love reading on Saturday. So I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me. It has been a pleasure as always. And have a good evening, everybody. Okay, bye-bye.